This video is now in session, and corporations are in a very sticky position. Now, this isn't going to be the normal video that I talk about, where I explicitly talk about either Republicans or Democrats. In this video, I'm going to talk about Republicans and Democrats, but the main focus is going to be on corporations, especially on the larger companies that work and incorporate themselves in the United States. So a couple of weeks, actually at this point, a couple of months into Joe Biden's presidency, we've seen a lot of companies change their tone on social issues, and as well as do certain things that reflect more of the woke culture, as conservatives would say. So this started with Hasbro and Mattel, I believe, where they rebranded Mr. Potato Head to just Potato Head. They dropped the Mr. part so that they can have more inclusivity and as well as diversity in their lineup, so that they appeal to not just heterosexual kids, but also those part of the LGBTQ community, and to also better reflect the current day trends. Now that's the first thing in terms of what a company did in order to conform to the changes of society. The other things are Dr. Seuss, as you know. Most know. If you don't, it's about Dr. Seuss, where I believe I'm not sure if it's Scholastic or another publishing company, but they removed some of Dr. Seuss's books out of publication due to racist imagery inside of some of those books. And that continues on with the Captain Underpants series, which is also another book series by another author. And then just recently, we saw a slew of companies go against voting laws that has been implemented in Georgia and as well as in Texas. We saw Delta Airlines go against the Georgia voting bill, so as the MLB, where they are moving their All-Star game out of Georgia. And then in Texas, you have Southwest, American Airlines, and as well as Dell, all going against the Texas voting law. And the reason why specifically those companies is because all three of those companies are based in Texas, while Delta is based in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is just the recent list of companies trying to change their stance and actively vocalize their stance towards social issues that benefit those who happen to be Democrats or who happen to have liberal ideologies. Now, this is a sticky situation because for companies, they have an incentive to do these kinds of things, to go against restrictive measures and to go against certain kinds of policies, because based on statistics, liberals usually have more money than conservatives and thus spend more. And if they're able to attract that base over to their company, then it means more money for them. The other thing is that a lot of liberals have gotten much more, I wouldn't say sensitive, but woke, as the conservatives say again, about what is happening in companies as well as books and other things, potentially canceling things if they don't view it as good for society or good for themselves. So an example of this is Goya Foods, where after praising Donald Trump, they were essentially canceled by liberal members, and thus that's the justification for companies to do these kinds of actions. That said, the reason why they're in a sticky situation is twofold. First, in terms of economic policies, they still benefit more from conservatives rather than liberals. The reason why is because conservatives favor less restrictions and as well as corporate tax breaks. The other thing is that corporations, and especially big companies, big tech, big anything you name it, is getting punched by both conservatives and liberals. So this includes companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google, Walmart. These companies that are really big, that have that have exercised tax avoidance and other nefarious tactics, have been criticized by both Republicans and Democrats. So it's a situation where corporations cannot get out of easily. I mean, Amazon specifically is in a particularly tough situation with its unionization vote in Alabama, and as well as lawmakers criticizing their labor and their work and the workplace, as well as the work-life balance that Amazon has, which is particularly dull, I should say. Now, what is the future of all of this? We've seen corporations themselves completely into the conservatives' hands, especially with the start of the Reagan administration, where a lot of companies supported Republicans and backed Republican legislation. But now it's difficult to say whether they're going to stay conservative or if they're going to move to the liberal side. And the reason why is, again, they see potential for the liberal side because of social issues, which gives them money, and then they see potential from the conservative side in terms of economic policies, which gives them money. So in the future, it seems like that they'll be on neither side, that they'll be both, that they won't be conservative or liberal. That said, with the amount of social activism a lot of these companies are doing, it's harming the economic incentives that they got from the conservatives, since after Delta voiced their opposition to the Georgia voting law, the Georgia State House put a bill to revoke the fuel tax credits that Delta received at Atlanta International Airport. So it's again a sticky situation, and that's pretty much the theme of this video. But ultimately, it's good that companies are receiving criticism by both Republicans and Democrats. Obviously, it's for different reasons, but ultimately, a lot of these companies have avoided tax paying. Delta is one of those companies where they avoid billions of dollars in taxes. Other companies include like Netflix or Apple. I guess going against these companies, it's a good idea. That said, that poses a question for both Democrats and Republicans that could also put them in a tough situation. For Democrats, if corporations start to move to their side, then they have a question of should they accommodate them and change their policies, or if they should continue to reject them and alienate themselves of talking to corporations. Now, for the Republicans, their question is, what is the Republican Party at this point? If corporations leave the Republican Party and they don't stand for conservative values anymore, then what is the Conservative Party? Because they are just alienating people and companies, even if they're bad. And ultimately, all they're gonna have left is white people in rural America, as well as the working class white and uneducated individuals in the Rust Belt. And while that may have been enough for Donald Trump to win in 2020, it's surely not enough in the future, especially when they need suburbanites. And when you have barely any kind of policies that back your party, then suburbanites will most likely just move to the Democratic Party. We've seen the Republican Party at this point shift from less of a legislative party and more into a publicity party, where you pull off stunts like Matt Gaetz, or you speak partisan platitudes like Donald Trump. Now, obviously, the Democrats do some of that, but at least they have some legislation on the board right now. That said, again, if corporations move to the Democratic Party, then it will look very hypocritical on them. that where they are imposing regulations against corporations, yet corporations are going to the Democratic Party, and that may alienate some of their voters, especially the progressive voters. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.